Ted Coningsby channel back at TED HQ. Welcome to the show. Hope we're all good and well. And a very good morning. And it's quite nice at the moment. It wasn't earlier, I'll tell you that much. It wasn't that great. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Ted's home, RAF Coningsby. And I hope you all enjoyed yesterday. A big thank you to everyone who tuned in yesterday. And I'll tell you what, there's a little treat. Here's a pilot doing their external checks there. They'll do pretty much the pre-startup checklist. So they'll check the drop tanks, any ordnance. They'll check the status of the nozzles, the foreplanes. Just make sure there's no leaks, cracks, and make sure they're happy at an external inspection level. And the pilot's just getting in here. He'll check the rear of the cockpit, check behind the seat. Again, any literally a small button that comes loose in there can also become an absolute hazard. So they'll check the status of that. They'll check the ejection seat. I think there's like some safety pins, make sure they're on there. And once that's complete, it is removing the cover of the head-up display, and they will contact tower to get clearance to start up. This is on any aerodrome, the startup procedure to contact the air traffic control to make sure that they are happy for them to start up. Even a startup is managed at that level as well. There are various frequencies. This is generic with all aerodromes, airports alike, whether military or civilian. They will do all the everything needs to be cleared, and then once that's cleared, they'll give them all the details, where to taxi, which runways in use as well. Pilots will be able to tune into ATIS as well. Those that are inbound or outbound as well, they'll tune into the latest and greatest, get given all the latest details. But in the meantime, welcome to Ted's home, RAF Coningsby, ladies, gents and teddy bears, and a place with, and a base with a lot of history, with so much to the history of the base, that the history still continues even today. Still continues today with lots of various aircraft operating in and out of Coningsby, a base that was put into proposal in 1937, or a station, shall I say, in the historic context. Base or station, well, they're the same. However, historically and traditionally, it is indeed a station. But both are interchangeable. That's why if you read official sort of websites of the Royal Air Force, it will say RAF Station Digby or RAF Station Waddington, RAF Station Coningsby. And our first arrival is the BAE Systems Embraer ERJ-145, which has the crew, or the personnel, shall we say, of Warton Aerodrome's BAE Systems. There they are now. A lovely aircraft, the ERJ. It's an Embraer ERJ-145, and it's the personnel of BAE Systems who play a major part here, and of course in many aircraft that you wouldn't think of really at first, but pretty much there's almost a BAE system in nearly every aircraft, from F-35 to F-15E Strike Eagle, of course the Typhoon. 5 Typhoon Squadrons operating at Coningsby, along with 2 display teams, the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight and the RAF Typhoon display team. A nice smooth landing there from the BAE Systems personnel there. Lovely. This is what's called corporate air travel. If you abbreviate that, stands for CAT, and hence the feline themed call signs such as MOG or Felix, the cat, MOG, get it? So here we are, first arrival, and even down to the ground school for 29 Squadron, operational conversion unit here. BAE Systems again making up the components for the ground school course as well. do play a major role here, as well as RAF Lossiemouth alike. So there's our first arrival of the day. Welcome to the Ted Coningsby channel, and welcome to Ted's home. And for those that tuned in yesterday, thank you very much. And it was lovely to give number 17 RAF Air Cadets, 17 Coningsby Squadron Air Cadets, the support. And we are big supporters of 17, being Ted's home, really. It's always nice to support Ted's home all the way to the infant stages and our future generation, the Royal Air Force Air Cadets. And what's lovely is that number 17 Squadron, the Royal Air Force's 17 Squadron, are still operational. They brought the first Typhoon as well here in May 2005 on the 19th. But today they operate at Edwards Air Force Base on the F-35B. They are the Test and Evaluation Squadron. But it's nice to have 17 still operate here through the Air Cadets. This is quite nice to see from over here. Usually it turns our right, but this is turned our left, which is quite nice. Whether it's going to head over to the main ASP or just this is quite unusual. I've not seen it taxi this side before. Is it going to end up at Coningsby's main ASP? It is, by the look of it. Look at this. First time I've seen this before in all the years I've been here. This is military aviation. Expect the unexpected. Right, so we'll leave that there. We'll get a nice little transition. Oh, perfect shot. Lovely. So 5 squadrons, ladies, gents and teddy bears that are here at Coningsby, and in a moment I'll just give you all the history. I'll just wait for this to where's it going? It's just going over here then, is it? Lovely. So the pilot will be starting very shortly. This is pretty much 29 squadron over this end.
What's that then, Ted?
It's ERJ-145. It's BAE Systems. Usually goes over there, but it's all over here today. First time I've seen it do that.
Does something new every day?
Yeah. So this operates from BAE Systems home at Warton Aerodrome, and it will go to Lossiemouth. Sorry, it helps if I give you the aircraft. It will go to Lossiemouth as well, as there are Typhoons there. Makes sense. And it's basically a commute for the BAE Systems personnel. Isn't that cool? So there we go. So we may see that depart as well. So welcome to Ted's home, RAF Coningsby. Gosh, it sounds loud, doesn't it? That screechy sound, pre-recorded, that's the AWCU. So, we'll start off with, we'll do it in numerical, shall we? Or should we do it in, well, what we're seeing? So this is 29 Squadron that we're looking at here. This is what's called an operational conversion unit. Sort of the lineage from operational training units from the Second World War, heavy conversion units, heavy glider conversion units, basically training units, but in these modern times we call them operational conversion units. And And during World War I, 29 Squadron had 26 of their pilots achieve ace status. They have a long heritage and history, along with Wing Commander Guy Gibson taking flight with them when they were a night fighter. And they've flown Mosquito, Phantoms and Tornado F3s. I believe the first to operate the F3, I think. But established and formed at Gosport, and they travelled to France, and this was in 1915. In 1940 they began service as a defence night fighter squadron, so that's when Guy Gibson, before he became Wing Commander, he was Wing Commander here for number 106, but we'll talk to you about that later on. In 1943 they began the offensive night intruder operations, and they were defending the Royal Air Force's heavy bombers in the escorting role. In 1987 they became the first operational squadron to be equipped with the Tornado F3, and they arrived here at Coningsby in 2005 in May. However, they did receive the Typhoon. They became the second Typhoon squadron to receive it in 2003, and that would have been at Warton Aerodrome. So that's our 29 squadron. Next up we'll go to XL1, I know, number 41 squadron. They're the Test and Evaluation Squadron. Their HQ is actually at RAF Waddington, and the squadron with the famous Seek and Destroy Echo Bravo squadron marked Spitfires throughout the Second World War. They've flown other aircraft such as the de Havilland Hornet, which we spoke about on last week's streams, how it was basically a predecessor, you know, a successor in some ways. It was basically a Mosquito, but dedicated as a single-seater fighter. It played a major part in the Southeast Asia operations, Burma, etc. They've flown the Phantom FGR2s, Jaguar and Panavia Tornado F3s, but today they're the Test and Evaluation Squadron. They formed in 1916 with the Royal Flying Corps, and they were operating the Royal Aircraft Factory FE8 operator. They began flying the Spitfire 5B in 1941. A year later they supported the Dieppe raid in August of 42. And in 1944, after D-Day, 41 Squadron, they switched their focus from bomber escorting role to anti-flying bomb patrols, and they destroyed a total of 53 V1 flying bombs, which I showed you on a fair few streams ago. The V1, what the British called the Doodlebug, but it was a V1, and they also paid attention to attacking V2 launch sites while equipping to Mark 14 Spitfires. And that's our 41 Squadron, who were designated as 41 Reserve Test and Evaluation Squadron, and took its first Typhoon in 2013. Our next two squadrons are the fighter squadrons. Number 3 Fighter, they're the oldest squadron here at Coningsby. They started life out, of course, with the Royal Flying Corps. Anything before the 1st of April 1918 would designate them into the Royal Flying Corps world. They were number 2 aeroplane company before they switched, and its first British Empire or Commonwealth independent military unit to operate heavier than air aircraft. And this ties in with the Cockatrice and Stonehenge, because in 1911, they're our oldest squadron here, 1911, they formed at Lark Hill as number 2 aeroplane company. Now it's near Stonehenge Aerodrome. Yes, that's correct, Stonehenge had an aerodrome, and if you look at some of the specifics on the station of the squadron's crest, you'll see what looks like Roman numerals in number 3, but it's actually a sort of bit of a gimmick on Stonehenge, like the Trilithons and the monoliths, and it's got the Cockatrice. Reason for the Cockatrice, that is their nickname. Buzzards are 29 Squadron's nickname, and the reason for this, according to mythology, for those that know, the Cockatrice is, or was, the first to fly in mythology, and this creature looks like a very fierce dragon cockerel, and turns its victims into stone. And I've always joked about Pegasus possibly having an argument about this. Maybe Pegasus was the first creature, but there were no witnesses in court because the witnesses were turned to stone. But anyway, a bit of fun there. So they moved to Coningsby in 2006. Our next squadron, number 11, they also favour the Roman numerals on their squadron numbers. No significance, just tradition. They are the world's oldest dedicated fighter squadron at Coningsby. They formed at Neverhaven, and they've retained that fighter role, the letter F, since 1915. They were the first unit to operate the Venom FB1. That was in 1952, and together with number 5 AC Squadron in 1988, they became the last squadron to operate the Lightning, which is why they have an English Electric Lightning as their sort of squadron guardian. 2007, they stood up here as a multi-role squadron with the Typhoon. And last but not least, we'll go with number 12 Squadron. They're the latest and greatest to operate here. Number 12 Squadron leads the field, the Fox, on their squadron badge. That's because they were the sole operator of the Fairy Fox. And they formed at Neverhaven in 1915, and the sole operator of the Fairy Fox happened in 1926. They were equipped with the Lancaster in 1942. They have a very moving, like they all are, memorial at RAF Wickenby, or ex or former RAF Wickenby. They switched to maritime and strike operations in 1969 with the much loved Blackburn Buccaneer, and in 93 they re-equipped with the Tornado GR1B. They took part in Operation Desert Fox over Iraq in 98. They did stand down in 2014, but reformed to support Op Shader in 2015. With a final standing down in 2018, they did reform in 2018 to become a joint Typhoon unit with the Qatari Emiri Air Force and Royal Air Force, and arrived here and operated here and began their operations in 2020. Our next two units are display teams, the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. They arrived here in 1976. For those that like to know, in 1973, when the Lancaster arrived, before then the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight were called the Battle of Britain Flight. It was when at Coltishore in Norfolk, when the Avro Lancaster arrived with the flight, that they added memorial to it, but they arrived here in 76. And completing their 20 years or 20 seasons are the Typhoon display team, of course made up currently of 29 Squadron. And a big shout out to the new, you thought I was going to say it, didn't you? The new 2026 Typhoon display pilot. And also in a few weeks' time, we're going to congratulate 2027 Typhoon display pilot. Yes, it's that advanced, it's that prepared and organised and structured that they already pretty much have sealed the 2027 RAF Typhoon display pilot. Yes, indeed. How good is that? So there we go. So that's Coningsby there, and it's time for our squadron leader to take control. Ted's got this lovely flag actually. As our squadron leader, Ted Cunningham. Oi, oi! As soon as Ted makes an appearance, it all goes well. Look at this. So nice one, Ted, with that, and well done, Ted, for supporting 17 Coningsby Air Cadets yesterday. It was an absolute pleasure, and I hope you tuned into the live and enjoyed it. It was for our members, something a little bit special for those that couldn't make it on any of the parades and Memorial Days. So there we go, Ted flying his Lest We Forget flag. A very nice flag there, Ted. And I like your poppy there with the Spitfire. Very nice, Ted. Very good. Love it. And as a channel, we are ones that we'll never forget. It is in our history, and the pilot that you can see here, and all the ground crew and all the crew that you see today, they're as ready as they were, you know, following the same footsteps, the same role, the same principle, the same outcome. Protect UK airspace, and they're just as ready as they were in the Second World War. I was going to say 1914, but of course 1939 it all started. So I was going to say the 40s, but of course, as ready as they were during the Second World War, they still play that same legacy today. So it is an honour to be able to do this. It really is. Looks like they're doing, actually saying that, I don't think that was a pilot. It looks like they're doing some sort of inspections inside the cockpit, actually. Oh, no, that's all right. Because of the light just shining in my right eye from the sun, there is a pilot in there. So I'll give you a full rundown of the Typhoon a little bit later on. I'll give you a full history as well. And I'll give you an aircraft that really was kind of like the first, shall we say, the first multi-role, because this is a multi-role aircraft. And I can only say to you, really, the very first multi-role aircraft would be, in my eyes, from reading all the wonderful aircraft that were about, and it was an aircraft that was here as well, it was definitely the de Havilland Mosquito. Absolute, without a doubt, an aircraft that can play any role: reconnaissance, night fighter, a bomber, a pure fighter, and even a pathfinder. And it did some daring raids as well, such as the Amiens prisons, Operation Jericho, the nuisance raids, took on the pathfinder role. It was an aircraft that you could just, yep, it can do that. It could take bombs. They modified it to carry 8 250 pounders. What they did, they shortened the fins to make room for more. It was amazing. The history of the de Havilland Mosquito is something that really paid tribute to Sir Geoffrey de Havilland's perseverance. He kept going. He didn't really take no for an answer. And the ultimate challenge would be trying to keep his personnel convinced to stay as well, trying to give that conviction to stay. Because at the end of the day, while war was happening, of course factories were getting the go-aheads, and of course if you're a member of staff, you go where the money is. It's as simple as that. And with de Havilland sort of been turned down on numerous times, must have played quite a bit of a challenge mentally as well, because at the end of the day you've got families to feed, especially during a war. De Havilland really had faith in this, and do you know what? It looked right, it flew right, that Mosquito, and I'll give you a little bit of info later on. And it was big shout out to the base there, big shout out to RAF Coningsby, and welcome to the show. Do expect the unexpected, you never know. Although it's we get the regular Typhoons, you just never know what turns up. I mean, at the end of the day, I know it's something we've seen before, but I've never seen this before. Just you know, having the ERJ-145 parked up here, which is very interesting. One thing I've noticed that I cannot see, unless I've gone cross-eyed. Oh, it is there. Sorry, I couldn't see the runway caravan, but it's there. Fair enough. Runway 25 in use then. Got some southerly winds going on. And this is our Typhoon FGR4. The letters mean certain things, giving you the Typhoon. And I was just about to say, there are actually two types of Typhoons here. There is the FGR4, which is the single-seater fighter, ground attack and reconnaissance. That's what the FGR. And number 4 is like a Mark IV designation. The T3 that was here, that's the family version. That's a 2-seater Typhoon, dual controlled as well for training, and we do have a few here as well. Tranche 3 is our latest and greatest Typhoon that we have here. That's the airframe type, as in the kind of, you could say kind of like the age, the latest and greatest. Of course, we started with the Tranche 1, 2, and then 3. It does go up to 4 or 5, but we don't have that here. We have 3 here. RAF Coningsby is one of 2 QRA stations in Britain. We have one here. This is QRA station number 2 south here at Coningsby. There's also QRA station north, and that's at RAF Lossiemouth. And of course, not forgetting the Falkland Islands 1435 flight as well, with the 4 Typhoons there named: Charity, Faith, Hope and Desperation. And looking at it, seems to be a tradition from the days of the Gloucester Gladiator at Malta. I think they had 3 then defending Malta during the time, and they were named Faith, Charity and Hope, if I remember off the top of my head. They still have the, I think it's a Maltese cross. This is just complete pure off the top of my head. We don't really talk a lot about 1435 flight, as we don't really go to the Falklands, although it would be nice to cover a show in the Falkland Islands with a few penguins. And a very warm welcome to all of you. Good day, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from in the world. Welcome to the show, Margot, Perry, Perez, Matman Bush, LEJ Approach, Davey, Wee Stevie Boy, Paul Mayers, Hank Verhule, Simon Watcher and Dave Holloway. How you all doing? Hello to you as well. Welcome, Sam Diplock, how you doing as well? Oi oi. Captain A, Ames back, how you doing? I think the names are still old school usernames at the moment. Davey, how you doing? Oi oi to you. JPG Aviation. Hope we're all good. Argan. So we're just waiting for everything to start up officially for our show. Got a bit of a funny week this week with regards to dodging the rain all week. It's going to be a bit hit and miss this week. I'll do my best. It was it was literally a different place this morning. When I got here about 7:30, 8 o'clock, it was just grey, misty. And there we go. We start the week with our TED HQ. So we've got I'm going to try and get you a variety. Last week was just absolutely brilliant with Hull Beach back to back. That was good. And yeah, I've literally got no plans solid for the week here. I'm just keeping my eye on the weather. All right, I'll see what I can do. I will try and get you our weekly Waddington stream this week as well. And I'm not sure what day. That could be a Thursday or a Friday for Waddington. But leave that with me. I'll see how it's going to go. And again, just keep the notification bell button on for those that don't have that. And I usually put the stream schedule the night before, just to be almost certain. So we're looking at our Royal Air Force's Typhoon, which is a Typhoon FGR4. Got our each country can have its own designation. Other countries basically call it different things. Some things are omitted, like the German and Austrian omitted the IRST pirate system. They're the only two countries, I believe, that have omitted the infrared search and track system. They call it different things in those different countries as well. Like we said, C-16 Typhoon in Spain. Got the Typhoon F2000A in Italy. In Germany, it's the Eurofighter EF2000. Here we call it the Typhoon FGR4. Ultimately, they're pretty much the same type, but their own different variants. You could, in some ways, call it a different variant in those countries, because they do have, like I said, they've got a few things omitted. Some things have a few different, like the Royal Air Force. The Typhoon's max speed has been tuned down, but don't worry, it's, you know, doesn't mean that it's slow. It means they've probably tuned up to make it more responsive. But it is super quick in acceleration. We know that. So do bear that in mind. If you start messing with max speed, you then you can, especially in vehicles and cars, you can increase the acceleration by doing that. It is a Super Cruise Typhoon. The engines on the EJ200 engines, they are Super Cruise, which means it is capable of going supersonic without afterburners or reheats, which we know because we see the Typhoon time and time again take off without any reheat. And it's the thrust to weight ratio that really does make this. Really does. If you, next time you go to an air show and look at fighter jets when they're going quite slow, and then the Typhoon can then literally accelerate and go up vertically, whereas other aircraft, the F-18, F-16, will need to, if it's going to do a steep climb, it needs to pick up the speed. It needs to do a lot more harder work to do that. they're not able to accelerate straight up, okay? And it's all to do with thruster weight. Yes, you can mess around with thruster weight by adjusting your fuel and what you've got on there. If you start lowering your fuel, but then what's the point, etc. So you can do that ultimately. 50% fuel normally is when you can configure that aircraft to get straight to a tanker, to fill it up totally, and then off you go. Lots of canopies open now, so get ready. The Typhoon, I've always tried to keep it simple, and I had a question the other day from one of our viewers. What happens if the flight control system, the computer, basically the FCS, what happens if that goes down? We all know the Typhoon is fly-by-wire, correct? Okay. This computer, or the computer systems, there are loads. All right. Now I know I'm going to quickly show you the Typhoon's computers in some ways, but it's called an FCS, and it's called the flight control system. The Typhoon's unstable aerodynamic airframe is controlled by many computers. Now, I simplified it by calling it 4 main computers. I think today now you've kind of got that idea, so I'm now going to give you a different type of explanation. We're going to go even more. Now, hello, there's my model of my Typhoon. Now we know, for those that are regular, I've said about the aircraft data pitos. There are 4 of them. Okay, now they send data to 4 lanes. They're called lanes. Now, you need to now get a new bit of info for those that don't know. In total, the Typhoon has actually got 70 computers on board that keeps this airborne. 70. Now, I know I've said 4. I'm glad I did, because now I want you to understand that they're split into 4 lanes. So the data under here, the 4 little triangles, have the data. All right, so we now know that there are 4 lanes. You could say, I don't know, 20, 20, and 10. I don't know how many are in a lane. Now, to answer the viewer's question, what happens if the flight control system goes down? So there isn't one flight control system. There are 70 computers split into 4. All right, so I don't know how many's in each lane. Okay, so lane 1 could have 20, lane 2 could have 20, and then lane 3 and 4 could have 15 and 15. But hear me out. I want you to understand that the Typhoon can lose a whole lane. Lane 3 might have 20 computers, basically 25%. So the Typhoon can lose 25% of its computers, and it can still fly because of that many computers. It goes into a safety mode and it's able to get back. Can it restart after bringing it back? No, it can't. It's like, no, you need to fix me, otherwise I won't come back. So I've had a look at some data of what it looks like, lane 1, 2, 3 and 4, and it gives you a breakdown of what lanes are doing. And lane 3, for example, I've seen a Typhoon lane, and it had 25% all gone. It had a 0. It had a 0 on lane 3. A 0, ladies, gents, teddy bears, which means one of the lanes has lost basically 25%. It can still fly, which is why having lots of computers can benefit a safety aspect. So what does it all mean? Well, let's take an F-15, which doesn't have fly-by-wire, which doesn't have a flight control system, computers. A pilot just going in a straight line, easy, not a lot of pilot input. When a pilot is about to do an aileron roll and then do a steep turn, a lot of input there, right? Take fly-by-wire. This is supposed to be aerodynamically unstable, so the computers are working hard just for the aircraft to go in a straight line. Now, if it does an aileron roll and then a nice steep turn, the pilot doesn't have to do a lot there. The pilot can just say, I want to go that way, and the computers will do that for the pilot. Whereas non-fly-by-wire, the pilot will have to input a lot of certain things to do lots of different maneuvers. The pilot's putting in those maneuvers, so it is apparently a very easy fighter jet to fly in that respect. So I hope that made sense. So basically you can knock out 25% of your computer system and it can still fly. So we now know the Typhoon has 70 computers split into 4 lanes. There we go. Hope that made sense. So now I'm gonna keep adding certain things each time I talk about the Typhoon. Because I don't want to just throw it all out there to you and go, right, it's split into 4 lanes, and if I went into so much detail, we could lose track of what's actually going on. So we're gonna break it down every week and go into a little bit more detail. The Typhoon can pull 9G. Now there are instances the Typhoon, not that it's going to be happy about it, can actually pull a little bit over the 9G. Why? This is to do with the wind. If the wind is blowing in that sort of pushing the Typhoon even further, then the Typhoon will actually go above plus 9G. Not that it's not that the pilot wanted to do that, but if the wind's hitting in the right direction, you can actually increase G by about half. So that's quite a lot. I'm not sure if the airframe's happy about that, but there we go. For those that are new to the G, if you're not flying right now and just at home or wherever you are at work or just watching in wherever you are, sat at home on a sofa, on the bed having breakfast, whatever it is you're doing, we're all experiencing 1G, the force of gravity. We're all experiencing gravity. Okay, this kind of is pulling us down. 2G means you are now experiencing twice the force of gravity. So 9G means you weigh 9 times more than you do. I know it's not very flattering, but that's the case. That is the force of that blood being pushed down. So at the moment, force of gravity is plus 1G if you're just walking around. So 0 means that you're weightless. You can experience 0G. You can also go negative, where the blood is going the other way, to your head. Now you can tell on in-flight displays, cockpit, when a pilot's experiencing negative G, because the sort of like the tassels and the cord of the pilot's suit and anything like that is sticking upwards. Now gravity is always pushing downwards, right, or pulling downwards, whichever way you want to call it. So that's how you can tell, and it's nasty, but it's basically sending gravity the other way to your head, and it's not very nice. It's very unpleasant. So if you do minus 2G, that's twice the force of gravity, but the other way. It's and then minus 3G is very, very horrible. So not a nice feeling, but there's not a lot the pilot can do about it. When it comes to the forces of gravity in a positive, the pilot's assisted by the Striker, the G suit, I think it's called Striker, and it inflates, and the pilots are trained to tense as well to stop the gravity just going, the blood going all the way down from the head all the way down to the feet. So they're trained to tense. Also, when you pull in that kind of G, your organs are being affected. Breathing can become difficult. So the pilot's oxygen system actually has forced oxygen into their mouths, actually pushes it down into their lungs so that they can help breathing. There's also different breathing exercises that they're trained to do, that kind of thing as well. Got a question here from Williams88, who's put another question: what are the pros and cons of twin engine aircraft or a single? Good question, and it's all to do with room, the amount of space you're going to use. If you take the F-35B for example, they've had to utilize 1.2 tons 1.2 tons just to have something to add on to the single engine, okay, to literally so that it can hover and go into Stowville mode. Right, so if you've got 2 engines, here's some pros and cons. 2 engines, well, if one goes, you've got another. Okay, so that's kind of like a safety aspect. The other thing, you can split the power as well. But on a single engine, such as the F-35, you've only got the 1 engine. It doesn't take a lot of room, all right? So you've got that respect to think about. So it doesn't use that much room, although you can make it a mighty beast. So I guess it's also a maintenance as well. You've got to think of maintenance. You are servicing 1 engine as opposed to 2. That kind of thing. There are pros and cons. You know, a lot of people said, well, can you imagine why don't the F-35, why doesn't it have 2 engines? Can you imagine the size and width it would have to then cope with, the weight as well? So you could say it could be weight reduction in some sense. If you had a heavier engine in the Typhoon, just because it's got 2 engines doesn't always mean it's going to be heavier just because it's got the 2. You can kind of distribute the weight. So I hope that was all right. That's a good question. But it is said that single engine fighters offer sometimes, it depends what, I mean, this is what I've read before, better maneuverability, lower weight, which we've covered. And again, which I did say, so just to put it in a nutshell, I guess lower maintenance, because you've now got 2 engines to maintain rather than 1. So my final answer would be to that then, Williams, is that single engines offer a better maintenance because you've only got the 1. They also are, I would say, lighter weight because you've only got the 1. When you save room, okay, so the space of having the 1 engine means you can probably have more weapons and more fuel. So you could technically increase the range, so it's probably going to be more effective and use less fuel because you're now pumping fuel into 2 engines. So it's one of those things, it depends. So I would go with that. That's my understanding of it. A bit of a delay at the moment for departures. Normally they would have started up by now. Brian Wood, do they still use the centrifuge chamber for G? I believe they do, yes. I believe they do. So it's literally in that machine that just spins round and round so the pilot can experience G. They practice anti-G straining maneuvers as well. So that involves a lot of physical fitness training as well. They say that if you've got higher blood pressure and a bit more stockier, you can cope with more G, but that's... But it is correct, centrifuge training. It's a RAF, for those who don't know, it's basically a device that just, you sit in this sort of like this dome, I think, and it just spins round and round and round, which I'm not a great fan of the waltzer anyway, so that won't do me good. Here we go. So you can see the Typhoon has on one end and the other end, so right on the tip of the tail and the nose, slightly different colours, and that's where sensitive radars are. The radome, AESA, the automatic electronically scanned array. And then on the tip of the tail, sorry, active electronically scanned array. That's on the inside that nose, active electronically scanned array. You can see that nicely there, the grey there. You can't paint it because you will start messing around with the performance of the sensitivity of the radome and the radar inside there. On the tip of the tail, you can see that just slightly different grey there. That's like a very high frequency antenna. Great questions. This kind of is a lead on from Eastbourne. The questions started to get really good, like really good. All questions are good, but I think it was from Eastbourne. Since August, you've been really like, I don't know whether you've maybe you've learned a bit more from the show. I don't know, but the questions are really good. Even trying to challenge me, and if I don't know it, it's great because it then leads me on to trying to find you the answer. I'll be contacting relevant people to try and find the answer for you. Some nice light there, isn't it? But of course, going back to the single engine, the F-35's engine is currently the world's most powerful engine in a single engine configuration fighter. There isn't a bigger engine like it, so that is another credit to Pratt & Whitney's engine. It's the F135. So there are two variants, the PW100 in the A and C, and the PW600 in the F-35B variant. So the Typhoon's EJ200 engines produce a whopping 20,000 pounds of thrust with reheats. Our first Typhoon at taxi holding point Alpha 1, I think that is down there. that's not coming for us, but it looks that way. So that was our first movement of the day. Well, our first departures actually. Our first movement was this, BAE's corporate air travel, the ERJ-145. So we've still got a couple of Typhoons spooling. Well, we've got 3 canopies up, nice. 29 Squadron Lady Teddy Bears, where a pilot would have just come from RAF Valley after completing their advanced flying training. And if their career path is tuned to the Typhoon, they come here. And with any pilot to commence to frontline roles before their main aircraft, if they're going to qualify on a particular aircraft, they'll fly with a qualified flying instructor. So 29 Squadron is the operational conversion unit, so they'll come here and operate with 29 operational conversion unit, 29 Squadron. And of course they still need to pass and be qualified. If they don't, sadly, that is it. 207 Squadron is the operational conversion unit for the F-35B. We've also got 28 for the Chinook, 42 for the E7 and the P8, I had to think there as well. Now, I did get asked this a long time ago and I managed to get the answer. Can a pilot go from Typhoon to F-35B? Not really, and I'll explain why. They don't really change platform. It's a lot of work, a lot of time involved, all that training to get a pilot to Typhoon. They've got so much knowledge, they've got so much background. It would literally be a lot of time and effort to actually take away a frontline pilot and put them into another platform. You've got to go all the way down to a different route, and again, don't forget, they've been so used to the Typhoon. Of course, if a particular aircraft has been is being retired and a new platform is introduced, that's a whole different ball game. But with operational aircraft on a frontline role for a like-to-like, they don't really change platform. Not something that's really, I'm not saying it never happens, but there must be maybe a real good reason to do that. The time and effort to then take away a frontline pilot and then to retrain, it's a lot of time. It takes about 3 to 4 months from that. But don't forget, they're so used to a Typhoon, and going to an F-35B probably wouldn't happen. It's best to start and learn from new, basically. So good question to one of our fans that sent that in a while ago, and I've only just got the answer. Matt Crossan, good question. That is it. There is no frontline flying for them. If they don't pass it, that is it. So they'll probably go into a different role. There are other career paths. The Royal Air Force offers a variety of roles, from chef to armourers to computer geeks, as they call it. Varies. I know, mechanics, right? Technicians, tools. There is a variety of roles that you could do. RAF Regiment, RAF Police. Air traffic control. There's a lot. There's loads of different roles that you can do with the Typhoon. There's military transport, Bowsers. So if you are thinking about an RAF career, there are several different roles that you can do. So check out RAF careers. One of our mods will put a little link, I'm sure, in the comments. Let's not forget the hedgehogs. Yeah, absolutely. Hedgehog operations, towing the aircraft. Lots of different roles. Don't forget the chefs who feed everyone. Tim Gooch, or yoy to you. How you doing? Hope you're good. Thanks a lot, Margot, for putting that link if you are interested. Of course, if you are a youngster and because of course different countries around the world have different times. We do have youngsters on our show, maybe playing it back after school. Is of course to learn the traits and the basics and discipline with the Royal Air Force's Air Cadets as well. There's one here, number 17, Coningsby Air Cadets, who I was delighted to support yesterday. It was so lovely. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks a lot, Perry. Yeah, absolutely. Logistics, intelligence, hospitality, ground combat, cyber, engineering, air and space. Absolutely nailed that one, mate. Yeah, nice one. Air crew as well. There is a lot, and at the end of the day, they all have one ultimate goal, and that is air superiority and to protect UK airspace. That is exactly what it's all about. Nice one, Perry. So, 2 more to leave the floor. Here we go. Skies are all over the place behind me. They don't look great, but hey, that's fine. We'll just keep going. Yeah, my umbrella's at the ready. Mind you, at least it's not windy as well, because that would just really docking now for to their chariots. Lovely. I think we've got more Typhoons starting around the base, so that's kind of cool. Welcome to RAF Coningsby, Ted's home. I hope you're all good. Welcome to the home of the Eurofighter Typhoon, and the Typhoon FGR4 to be exact. And not forgetting the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight and the RAF Typhoon display team. Welcome to the show. And I had a great, some great questions. I tried to remember some of your questions that you've answered that I couldn't answer. A little bit more of a hands-on. It was more about the Typhoon display, how that works with selection. And I can't remember who it was, but someone asked about the whole process. And I managed to get it for you, which was really cool. Basically, let me just turn it around a moment. It was really, really good. Just keeping it a little bit simple. Like I said, they've already... How are we doing? My name's Nick Cross, cameraman and historian and commentator. How are we doing? Hope you're all good. Right, so they've already, I think they've almost selected 2027 RAF Typhoon display pilot. I suppose you need to prepare for these things. How do you get selected? Well, literally, you write down on an A4 piece of paper. I got that far, right? A4 piece of paper explaining why you feel that you should or feel that you could become a Typhoon display pilot. You need to explain your reasons, all right? And if you are... If you are successful just on that part, what happens the night before, you will be given a Typhoon display routine to learn, and you've then got to go in a simulator. So it could be there from 2016, 2019. They'll be given, so you write down, you give it, obviously you have to be in 29 Squadron. You can't just send your answers in. You get that, you apply, there's maybe they get about 3 or 4 a year, 3 or 4 applicants a year roughly, the Typhoon display team. And so they're given a display routine to learn, like overnight. That's it. Next day in the simulator and try. And now basically they're examining how they're doing it, if they can do it, see if there's any weaknesses or flaws, see if they can do it. If they are successful on that part, what happens then, I guess if there's 3 or 4 applicants, they'll select who they feel was better, and it's a 45-minute interview with high up, like the warrant officer, 45-minute interview. The purpose of the interview is to give them scenarios, okay, how they would deal in a situation, a bird strike, or an engine fault happens during a display, of a certain void. There are airfields that have certain voids and restrictions around the, and if something happens, they're given lots of different scenarios, and then of course there you go. If you are selected, then you'll be chosen officially. Once you're officially chosen, you will then get a chance in, say, January, February to fly your first sort of display. Now, here's the thing. Any pilot can do a practice display, say between 5,000 and 10,000 feet high up. You don't need like an authorization to start doing that, because you have, like, combat maneuvers, basic fighting maneuvers, dogfighting, aerial combat. They're doing all sorts of things there. So they'll do one at 5,000 feet, the whole routine about 5,000 feet, one of those. The next set will be 10 displays. There'll be 10 displays at 1,500 feet, all right? And after that, once they've completed them successfully, it's 2 at 500 feet, okay? That is the hard deck, okay? And then when they've done that, they're then down to minimals, all right? Minimums. Now, minimums is still the display, main display is still done at 500 feet, all right? They can't go below that. However, there are 2 things to make it minimums, all right? You can do 100 foot, that's your minimum high-speed pass, so you can go down to 100 feet for a high-speed pass. You can also go down to 300 feet for a steep turn, all right? So you can do that at 300 feet. But the main display is still done at 500, except you're given 2 leeways, 100-foot fly past minimum, or shall we say maximum, but that's the minimum you can go down to, and the 300 feet high steep turn. Now there's a roll-in, flat and full display. Now a flat display may sound a little bit not as fun, but I'll tell you this much. This is from a Typhoon display pilot. Full displays have more open space, right? Because a flat display is done when the cloud ceiling is quite low. You've got to remember they're keeping that display in a tighter space, which means they actually experience 9Gs almost throughout the whole display. So flat, although for us in the ground going, no, it's only a flat display, it's actually harder to do because you've got you kept it in a tighter space. This also goes for places like Buckingham, I think it is, and Shuttleworth. It's quite a tight aerodrome, so they actually do experience a lot more G there. And a big shout out to the RAF Typhoon display team, and also congratulations to the 2026 RAF Typhoon display pilot. And no, I'm not going to say the name of the pilot. That'll be up to the Royal Air Force or the team to officially announce that. Once we have the official announcement, and we can tell you who it is. So this is the main ASP. So this is where you usually have 29 Squadron, the operational conversion unit. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Typhoons with the canopies up here on the main ASP. Pilots just call it the main for those interested. Keep all 4 on the screen there if you want. The new Typhoon display pilot usually is announced sort of December, January, around that time. Sharon, how you doing? Hope you're good. AD Causa, Tim Gooch, oi oi Gooch. Soy oi to you, how you doing? Captain A, hope we're all well and good. Welcome to the Ted Coningsby channel. So we've got 4 Typhoons, by the look of it, all spooling, all started up. So hopefully we'll have those out as well. Sharon, thanks for joining us, and glad the streams make you feel good. That's the whole idea. As well as a channel, we'd like to make sure everyone's in the green. Oh yeah. And the latest and greatest Ted Coningsby membership advert is coming soon. I've had to adjust it a little bit. I've had to just making some tweaks for the coming year, of course, and hope you enjoy it. It's coming soon. Yeah, looking forward to that, so I'll get that on for you. Do think about membership from £1.99 a month. That's all it is, and you'll be able to access a variety of YouTube perks, very good YouTube perks, and you'll be able to join live streams like yesterday, some special streams, some previews, emojis, private Discord servers, that kind of thing, and discount on our merchandise as well. And don't forget to do your in-stream checklist as well. You've been clear, touch and go on the like button. Give us a thumbs up and, you know, support. It really does help. It really does. The like button may seem like a simple thing, but if all our viewers hit the like button, it can cause a bit of a tweak with the algorithm. It could be pushing it out there for YouTube as well. Do think about subscribing to your one and only Ted Coningsby channel. Had a little message there saying about some visiting aircraft. Hang on a minute. Talk to me, Davey. Hang on a minute. I can see a light now. Hang on a minute, what's this? Looks like a Saab Gripen. This out. Oh, lovely. Swedish Air Force Saab Gripen. Tasty. Look out for another one. We may have another one. In the skies for another one. Hang on a minute. Looks like we may even have a C-130 at some point by the look of it. What's that over there? Hang on. lovely. Well, I clearly missed one because there's one there. I must have been behind it while it landed. While I was, oh, there we go. While I was concentrating on it landing, it must have arrived right behind it. So there we go, 2 RAF Gripens of the Swedish Air Force. Well, I apologise for missing the other one while I was watching the other one. I can hear a prop aircraft as well started up. Sounds very Merlin-like, doesn't it? Or very Rolls-Royce. Lovely. There we go. Thanks, Davey. That was sorry, keep an eye out for a C-130 as well, which I've got my eye on at the moment. It could come here, you never know. It could be, we'll need a good hour and a bit yet. We need probably a good 90 minutes for that to arrive. Thanks for that, Davey. Nice. Love it. So it sounds like one of the BBMF aircraft are having an engine run. I've got 4 Typhoons canopies down at the moment. So we've got more Typhoons just taxiing out now for departure. Oh, and the Embraer is pinging as well. Yeah, I think we've got some from the south side as well. Yep, we have. We've got, good. Remco, very good morning as well. How you doing? Version Typhoon as well, just taxiing out. Four plus 2, and I can hear a beautiful EVMF aircraft running its engines. 4 Typhoons on the south side, 2 on the north. All is good. 1, 2, 3, 4. So at least 6. Oh, and there's another 1, 2, another 2 Typhoons. So 8 Typhoons for departure coming up. Oh, maybe more. There's another Typhoon taxiing out. Okay, so a very busy wave at the moment. We've got 8 that are just taxiing now. There's another 2 on my right, I think. What's going on here? Something's going on. I don't know. It's all going off. Enjoy. In 4 different countries, left wing Italy, right wing Spain, the centre section of the fuselage made in Germany, front cockpit, front section Britain, and the rear of the aircraft, components from Italy and Britain. Leonardo, BAE Systems, oh yeah. Consortium of the Eurofighter project. Right, here we go. More going on over this side as well, and the weather's just gone a bit emotional temperature wise. Here we go. ERJ-145. Still got at least 4 Typhoons to go out. At least. Nope, and there's another Typhoon just taxiing to the south. Was that another 2? No, it's another 2. So 6 plus the ERJ-145. Very historical, can you hear that? Wow. Nice. God, it was a lovely whistling sound there. Go, or low approach, here we go. Pratt & Whitney, that one. Twin Wasp. I wonder if it's the C-47 that I can hear in the background. we've got another Swedish Air Force aircraft just arriving any minute now. It's just over, sort of, just to the south of Spilsby. I wonder if it's the L60 Learjet. Could be. Okay, the Typhoon's just been cleared to take off. So the Learjet is just literally just minutes away now. Should be here any second. Just trying to establish the landing lights. Yep, I can see it now. There we go. I don't know how many there are, because couldn't tell you. Ooh. There we go, something a little bit different, isn't it? What's going on down there? Approach, here we go. Welcome to the Ted Coningsby channel. Hope you're all good and enjoying the show. Here we go. We've got the Embraer ERJ-145 taxiing out now. Sorry, just lining up and waiting for departure. Here we go. By the clouds there. I'm going to go and grab a quick cup of tea, but and I'll be back in just a sec. Actually, saying that, I don't think I can do that. I think there's a typhoon. I think it was just turning in on final now, actually, wasn't there? Yeah, just over Spilsby, so I'll just wait 1 second. I won't be here at... just take a few seconds to get here, surely. Cool. So, call sign Mog. They've changed it from Felix to Mog. If we're lucky, we get a bit of blue sky. Oh, I didn't know there was a typhoon still out there ready for departure. Hang on, this is going to be a funny day. Family version typhoon out there. Oh, you're off, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well, have a good one. Good to see you.
Bye.
Yeah, take care. Bye. Well, it's been a busy day, hasn't it? It's been a good morning. So we've got one out, one in a sec. We should have another Typhoon. Sorry, just waiting for the Typhoon to land, or at least make its approach. Oh, this one goes out. Bye. Here we go. Low approach.
Thought it was a bit wobbly, aren't we? Yeah, I thought it was right. Yeah, about. I know that was going to slow punch, but I didn't know that one was down. Oh, good. Here we go, another departure coming up. Unfortunately, that's the only bit of blue sky I've got, just this bit here. Are at the moment around here. There's some really low clouds going on. Have a quick cup of tea. Now let me just check ADSB, see if there's anything else.
Right, let's change these mags. Some good. Steady bears overall good. But nice surprise to have Swedish Air Force here. L60 Learjet, the Saab JAS 39 Gripens, 39 Gripens. There was two, I got one somehow. And maybe, just maybe, we may have something else, but at the moment what I can say is we've got a Typhoon inbound, just doing a few circuits. Welcome to the Ted Coningsby channel. How are we all doing? Hope we're well. We're in the official aircraft spotters car park here at Coningsby. Don't forget some housekeeping. Please park sensibly in the car park, and if you are struggling to find parking, please don't block the entrance and exit. It's quite tight as it is, and please don't park outside, as in literally just out here on the sides and the verge. Please don't do that. And then of course don't block the crash gates. Please keep those free, whether on foot or with your vehicle. Under no circumstances do you park your vehicle there, and please don't position yourself there. It is a crash gate for should the worst happen in emergency scenarios. Emergency crash teams, rescue teams will just literally, hence the word crash, through there. And don't touch the fence or climb the fence. Do take care though when crossing the road. That's a speed limit reduction, which is quite nice to hear as well. And please be mindful of the farmers' fields and land. It is private property. And to my right there is a red and white fence, which I'll show you. Please don't position yourself there. If you do, you will be asked to move by authorities, and or worse scenarios, if you are repeating offenders, it is for your own safety. That's why it's there, the red and white fence. You can stand to the right or left of it on the wooden fences. Just look at the red and white fence. That's for your safety. There's aero braking here. Look at this. Still going, still going. Nice. This is aerodynamic braking at its finest. Look at that. And that's literally relieving the braking systems, relieving and any stresses on the front nose gear. Just turning that undercarriage into a huge parachute pretty much.
just allowing aerodynamics and drag to do its thing to slow down the aircraft. While we're here, I'll show you the there's the red and white fence. Yeah, that's a no, and especially this field. See the farmers there doing their field working. Welcome to the 10th Coningsby channel. Hope we're all good and well. I'm just going to grab a cup of tea. That's the tea. Lovely. Just having a quick cup of tea while I can. Now we are aware there are some there's some real nasty showers coming. Just having a look now. Maybe we'll call it a day. I'll have a look. It is heading this way. That is quite a lot. That is huge. It looks pretty savage from here. Yeah, maybe we'll call it a day tag. Oi, oi! It looks pretty grim out there. I don't know if we're going to survive it. Are we going to survive it? I'm literally dodging the weather this week.
Ted, how you doing, mate? So yeah, just bear with me, because we could be finishing a bit earlier than planned today due to the emotional weather. And Orion 33, welcome. A high five, Paw Pump, Lilo Double Fly, thank you very much for joining the Ted Coningsby Fighter Squadron. Also, high five, Paw Pump for Lilo 3 Orion 33. Thank you so much for gifting 5 Ted Coningsby memberships. A Guards March to you. Gary Mathers, who's also a Fighter Squadron member, with 25 months membership. Oi, oi, and good morning, Ted, Nikos and TCS. I'm looking forward to today's stream, and thanks for all that you do. It's both a pleasure and a privilege to be a member of this amazing channel. Guards March. Paris Timmings, thank you. High five. Thank you for joining the Ted Frank Bruce with 33 months. Let's go. Oh yeah. Colin Patterson with 23 months. Oi, oi. Oh, I hope everyone is well. Incredibly 23 months and counting. Proud to be on board. Thank you very much. Margot, Guards March towards Ted Sarnes. Thank you very much. We Stevie Boy with 15 months membership. Hello everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for being a Fighter Squadron member. Also, we Stevie Boy 15 months membership. Thank you. No, we don't know. Jake Jackson, thank you very much. In the car park next to you. Oh, hello Jake. That might have been Jake from earlier. Hello Jake, how you doing? It's my birthday, is it? Yes. Well, happy birthday, jolly outing. Happy birthday to you, a Guards March. Colin Patterson, apologies I don't get on the streams much these days. Here's a little help towards tea, salmon and fuel. Guards March, thank you very much. Belly Bobcat, high five, welcome to the Ted Coningsby Squadron. Hank Vicule with 21 months membership. Wow, 21 months up to 24 months. Nikos Clare. Ted, you are all the best military aviation in the world. Thank you very much. Alan Q with a super sticker there. Thank you very much. Paul Fuller with 20 months membership. Oi, oi. Not been on here for a while. Oh, bless you. I hope you're all good. Paul Reason, 27 months membership. Loving the streams. Keep up the good work. Zabola 75. High five and a Guards March. Thank you for joining the Posh Officers Club. Are they Foons or are they the Gripens? Anyway, Janie Ann, thank you very much. High five, and thank you for gifting 5 Ted Coningsby memberships. Wow, thank you very much. Guards March. That's awesome. A high five and a paw pump to you, Janie Ann. Thank you. We Stevie Boy, who's with the super chat. Sub Gripens. Well, Gripen, because I missed one, I think. It's really bad. Dear Road, I know, Ted. Mr. Chicken, thank you very much. Watching from Germany. 30 months membership. Amazing 30 months. Let's celebrate it in 3 weeks. Yes, we'll be seeing you soon, man. Steve Sedman, thank you very much. Member for 37 months. Just simply the greatest stream on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. That's awesome. Thank you very much for your continued and long-serving membership. What have we got here? Can't be these, is it? No. These are being refueled straight away. My plan is, I think, midday. I think we'll just finish at midday, I think that's my plan. Because unfortunately, that rain looks savage, actually. The one that's like just out at sea, that's sort of heading this way. It might just disperse itself, but unfortunately this doesn't look good, does it? But never mind. I think 12 o'clock will be a good time just to finish up and carry on. In fact, I could feel it already in the air. You know, when it just drops temperature and it's just it just feels damp. It's not raining, but it just feels like it's going to rain. And I feel for all those people that actually react with headaches and migraines, because I do get it in stormy weather. It's not anything like magic. It is actually to do with pressure. Of course, we're looking at 1013 hectopascals here, aren't we? And then as you go, isn't it something like, I can't remember what the formula was, every 1,000 feet it goes, or every few hundred dampage on the way. Yeah, I can't remember what the intervals are, but it goes, it's quite cool. It goes down like by 10 bars or whatever hectopascals. I was looking at it when I was studying the QFE, QNE and all that kind of jazz with the altimeter. I have to admit that got really complicated. I kind of get it, but I'm trying to find a way to explain it to everyone. For those that use or have seen, you know, their grandparents with the traditional barometers, can kind of give you an idea of the weather. It kind of works like that, and I'm only going to guess that, well, you know, with the mid-ear, and we are kind of fluid with balance, you know, with the fluid in your ears to keep your balance. And yeah, I'm going real technical now, aren't I? I'm thinking if air pressure changes with the weather, I'm sure it can affect human beings. I do get migraines or like real heavy head when the weather starts to get all stormy. That's what I was trying to get at. So apologies if I went on a tangent there. Just gonna have a look just one more time. Let me have a look at this weather. It is, I mean, I can feel it already. It's not looking great. It is slowly approaching. I think if it was windy, I think it would be different. But I think the plan is then I'm going to give it till midday. I'm going to give it 12 o'clock, and then we've got 20 minutes to pack, which is more than enough. Getting better and better at things like this. Let me just check for any what I might do, I'll have a look at the C-130 and I might just get a video of it. It looks like it's coming here eventually. It's or is it? Where has it gone? Oh, I must be I don't know where it's gone. It's airborne, it's somewhere. But sadly that's the way it is this week. Tell you what we'll do, we didn't get a chance to give you the rundown on the Typhoon for those that are new, for those that are quite new to the Typhoon and the way it works. Again, welcome to the show. Typhoon made in 4 different countries. The Eurofighter Typhoon project, an idea that was put into the late 60s, into the 70s for a dominant fighter, just to literally carry on with Tornado. And the Tornado in my eyes was kind of like the or shall we say the Mosquito was the World War II's first ever multi-role. And I was going to give you a whole talk about the Mosquito that was here. But anyway, we'll talk about Typhoon. So we've got left wing made in Italy, the right wing made in Spain, the centre part of the fuselage made in Germany, the front section made in Britain, the rear with the tail, stabiliser, etc. made in Britain and Italy as well. There's plenty of components and parts as well. And the Typhoon has a flight control system made up of 70 computers, which I'll talk to you about, and it's split into 4 lanes. And we'll start from nose to tail as best as I can, if I'm not happily interrupted by Typhoon taxiing right now. There it is. So in the radome we have what's called a radar, which is an AESA. Now, active electronically scanned array. It's scanning, it's looking, it's trying to seek and destroy. This is where it all happens in here. Hence the slightly different colour. You can't paint it. If you do that, you're going to change the performance of the Typhoon's radar. Now, the earlier models, I get it, they started off as a manual scanner, Mark 1 which literally ECR 90 developed by Marconi. It's Hensol or whatever it is now. I can't tell you which ones have got the latest and greatest, but they are all been changed. So this, to give you an idea, can detect, scan and lock onto targets 160 kilometers away. Yes, 160 kilometers away. It can also lock onto larger aircraft 300 kilometers away. That's amazing. Prioritize on 20 to 30 and lock onto 20 to 30 targets, prioritize on 6 of those. That's amazing. That knocks out your dogfighting. Over here, with the exception of Germany and Austrian Typhoons, they've omitted this. This is your night vision, your infrared heat detecting. It's called an IRST, infrared search and track pirate system. It has I think it's got about 4 different filters to choose from if you're taking a portrait mode. Just kidding. No, it can do different modes at night or even bad weather to seek and destroy. So that marries hand in hand. Don't know why Germany and Austria omitted it, but I guess if you've got you know, your latest and greatest radar, maybe they felt that you don't need it. Anyway, whatever the reason, that's it. The Typhoon is made up of carbon composite, about 85%. That gives it a very low radar cross section, ladies, gents, teddy bears, with a acrylic canopy. The Typhoon doesn't have any elevators at the back. I know I said I'll go from front to back, but we're going to go back. We're going to switch again to the front. It has what's called 4 planes. These move and changes the angle of attack and the pitch, etc. So it does that. It can also be used as a speed brake. Speaking of brakes, we also have an air brake system as well. Now, underneath here, you're going to have 4 ADPs, aircraft data pitos. These send the data. They're like little triangles that move. They send the data to each line. There are 4 lines. In those 4 lines is made up of, in total, 70 computers, and it's basically divided into those lanes. All right, so we'll talk about the flight control system really quickly. As I mentioned earlier, you can actually have 25%, a whole lane gone. Let's say lane 3 can completely go. The Typhoon can still fly and get back safely. It won't start. It will just say, the computer says no, please fix lane 3, which is what, maybe 15 to 20 computers gone on lane 3, just for example. All right, so hope that bit made sense. Typhoon's intakes here, they got variable cowlings. They move up and down to adjust the amount of air. The intakes are sat low. This is called an S-duct design. So the engines sit up here, well, they're back here at the 20%, and it's shaped like a letter S, which means if you look into my inlets, look into my intakes, not around the intakes, but around. Anyway, what that means is you can't see the first part of the fan, the compressor blades, which create heat. Again, radar love heat. But you're not going to get them because you can't see them. This little splitter bridge as well, it's to stop the supersonic speeds hitting the engines at the front, but also to stop the Typhoon's engines from getting damaged. It's what it's called is called a boundary layer. When you go in supersonic speeds and high speeds, you start to create drag under here, and that draggy air is a different pressure to the original air going in. So if you've got low pressure and high pressure, 2 different pressures hitting a fan, you are going to damage your engine. So this is called a boundary layer splitter bridge or a splitter diverter. In the real world, it's actually got drills here, little grills, can suck up any extra boundary layers as well. In here you've got the BK Mauser 27mm cannon as well. What else we got over here? This is the heat exchanger, the RAM intake heat exchanger. You've all been to air shows maybe, or maybe seen some of our videos with Typhoon displays, whether it's Royal Air Force or Luftwaffe, whichever. This is to cool down the engine in excess amount of reheats. So when in a display with lots of reheats coming out and used for extensive periods of time, you're going to need to cool it down. This is what this does here. Up here, this is your antenna. This is why it's painted a little bit different color. This little in this little opening here, that's your fuel vent. it's normal for fuel to vent on startup or in negative G. This little radar here, this is your MAW, your missile approach warning system. Again, a survivability part of the Typhoon. Inside the whole Typhoon, in this section of the fuselage, you have about 30 kilometers of cabling. If you thought the back of your TV or your computer system was bad, try having 30 kilometers of it. The Typhoon's engines, they're EJ-200 engines producing 20,000 pounds of thrust. That's equivalent to 1,000 Ferraris. It sucks up 75 litres of air per second. Yes, per second, man. That is phenomenal. And it compresses air to 26 times. So 1 bar is now 26 pressure. Oh yeah. Typhoon's EJ-200 engines produce 20,000 pounds of thrust each. Now, the aircraft carbon composite weighs very little, 24,000 pounds empty. Okay, you can't fly without any fuel in it. What does this mean? Well, this means if you fully fuel it up, it means it's got an amazing thrust to weight ratio. The thrust, 40,000. The weight, way under 40,000. So what does that mean? Well, it means from brakes release to 8 seconds, it can actually get around 185 miles per hour. It can pull up into a 50 to 60 degree vertical climb, and 22 seconds later it can go supersonic. Now, it's not just the departure that the thrust to weight ratio is amazing. I mentioned air shows. The Typhoon, beautiful thrust to weight ratio. Have a look at F-16s, F-18s. They need to pick up speed to do this. They're going slow, and the Typhoon can just pull up and accelerate vertically. So not just in departure that it's that it can accelerate vertically. Think of air shows, how it can do that, and that's what makes us go, oh yeah. Typhoon could take about 20,000 pounds of payload. It's got 13 hard points. The center hard point dedicated to the center drop tank. Then we've got another hard point on each wing for a drop tank each. So you can actually equip the Typhoon with 3 drop tanks, leaving you with 5 hard points on each wing for various amounts of ordnance. You know how it is. The Typhoon naturally can do twice the speed of sound. The Royal Air Force have toned it down to Mach 1.8. It is super cruise, which means it can go supersonic without the use of reheats. Reheat, afterburner, same thing. Our last. God, that weather back behind me looks really, really interesting. So I'll just finish off the last couple of bits on the Typhoon before we go. I mentioned about the hard points. There's our phones there. Mentioned about the hard points. You've also got the FOTD, fibre optic towed decoy. There's a hang on, it's on this side. Sorry, there's the decoy pylon here. All right, so it's not an inflatable Typhoon like I always thought. It's probably connected with fibre optics, and it's got like a radar in case of detection and need to fool the enemy. You've also got a chaff dispensers here. You've also got flares if it's heat-seeking ordnance that's after you. Like I said, guided for the chaff. Bits of metal to fool radar. You got flares here as well. No blue tack today on this one. On here, there's a little intake here. This little tiny little intake that does your. It's an intake to cool down the instruments, if I remember correctly on that one. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that you might like to know, but that's a quick tour of the Foon before we go, before we finish up. So before we go, just a quick one before we go. We spoke about speeds and all this kind of stuff. Here's our first ever aircraft that operated here up Coningsby. It was Coningsby's birthday the other day, 4th of November 1940. How cool is that? With February having the first residence 106 Squadron with the handling Page Hamden. Here we are, look at it. Crew of 4 could take 4,000 pounds of payload, including a torpedo. They did make torpedo versions of this as well. And a month later, they were welcomed with their fellow squadron, number 97 Squadron, who came in with the Avro Manchester. So that's this is our first. You know, it's pretty cool. It was sort of mimicked as a fight, almost like a fighter bomber twin engines. But of course, it was time for an era of the Royal Air Force to have faster, more powerful, longer range aircraft, such as the Avro Lancaster, which they did eventually. They closed the station for the sort of summer of 42 until summer of 43. They did have a second station, RAF Coningsby. This is what we call a satellite station, and that's of course is Woodhall Spa, and they opened that with hardened runways because Coningsby had grass runways and it wasn't suitable for heavy bombers such as the Lancaster. Of course, they didn't know that was going to be the thing, but of course it did. So when it reopened, it was indeed number 617 Squadron that arrived first to use RAF Coningsby, interestingly. But with the Hamdens, the 2 Bristol Pegasus engines, max speed of 247 miles per hour, and with a service ceiling of 19,000 feet, it wasn't too bad, to be honest. But of course, when the station closed to have the runways extended, and in the Class A configuration, that's 3 runway strips, ready for the Avro Lancaster. There, this is a 617 squadron, Yankee Zulu, when they were having the 22,000 pounder Grand Slam. How amazing is that? Of course, lots of modifications done to it. The top turret there removed, and the weapons bay modified to even have that. But of course, sticking this onto it meant that it was, you know, not that, you know, it wasn't very maneuverable once it had 22,000 pounder in there. It was amazing. It could take, I think, with the exception of the B-29, I'm going to just say it, I think it was the most the bomber that could carry the most, I'm pretty sure, in a standard configuration as well, I'm pretty sure. But Coningsby in 1944 also had the Mosquito, and I was going to give you a little presentation on the Mosquito and how it came to be, and it was operating here, and look at it, absolute beautiful, and it could also play a variety of roles as well. It was really, really, really amazing. The Mosquito bomber, for those who know, at the time when it was built, I think it was the fastest, well, it was the fastest aircraft in the, it could have been in the world, you know, I'd like to say, but I'm gonna, yeah, I'll put that out there for it. I'd say it was, but there we go. I'm just gonna have a look at ADSB, see if we've got anything else coming. The de Havilland 98, yeah, it looks emotional. Yeah, I'm going to pack up, I think. Look at the state of this. Look, this is what you could have won. I don't really want to win that cloud over me, but it's heading this way. Yeah, so it was a bit of a shame because I was going to give you a full tour of the Mosquito, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it. But we can try. For those who don't know, but it was stationed here, but designed and really persevered by Sir Geoffrey de Havilland. It was the RAF's first multi-role in my eyes. And you could say the Tornado kind of replaced it in that sense, but we need to go back really to de Havilland's masterpiece, the de Havilland 88, because in 1934, 20th of October, RAF Mildenhall was the 71 hours victory, the Mac Robertson air race, 11,000 miles, and it was de Havilland's 88 that won it. It was the de Havilland Comet, and that was made out of wood. It was a wooden construction made of balsa wood, birchwood, ply, and it was all about the power to weight ratio with that. And de Havilland made his own engines to go with that. Then he teamed up with Frank Earl in 1908. They built their first plane, and the second plane they made, de Havilland actually flew it. He was making bombers such as the DH-4, DH-9 for reconnaissance, and DH-10 as a bomber as well. And the DH-88 really was the key to that, and that was done from Mildenhall to Melbourne, Australia, a race that was won by de Havilland's Comet DH-88. In 1938, de Havilland approached the Air Ministry, but they weren't really interested to develop the DH-88, and it was really a perseverance. And the Air Ministry just basically said that, you know, you're going back in time, you're going back, mate. You know, you can't really. We're making bombers now with metal, and to actually go to them with a design made out of wood, the Air Ministry, you know, kind of thought, well, we're regressing, and you've got to think about the impact on personnel. There's a world war looming, and you know, by 1939 November, Air Chief Marshal Sir Wilfred Freeman, he actually did go ahead with it and commissioned the first prototype, but the Air Ministry thought we're actually kind of regressing, going back to wooden planes, but de Havilland kept arguing his case. And the thing is, the impact that you got to remember, small towns would be booming for their economy and bringing in employment, you know, and you know, with de Havilland that's being, you know, turned down constantly, work personnel would go to other places as well, but never mind. Luckily, because this was made out of wood and basically the flying tree, a lot of metal was used for other, you know, for the Merlin engine, for example, development onto the, you know, for the Spitfires, etc. But like I said, a prototype was funded on one condition: it had to be a reconnaissance aircraft and not a bomber. And by then, France had fallen, the Allies were falling, and of course the evacuation of Dunkirk. De Havilland kept arguing his case. It didn't need resources. He kept saying, look, it only needs wood. And he had a really good idea of how to put it all together. And by the 14th September 1940, the Battle of Britain began, and his design team carried on with a prototype on hangars disguised as a farm behind Salisbury Hall. And civilians wondered why farmers were going in at overnight, doing night shifts in this barn, but the secret didn't quite go out. And by November 1940, the first prototype flew its maiden flight for 45 minutes, piloted by de Havilland himself, and it was painted in yellow because painting yellow, basically anything unfamiliar, our gunners would just try and shoot it down. So hence the paintwork, which if I remember correctly, this could be why we started to have the yellow jacks painted in yellow, because there was so much yellow paint. A little interesting fact there of a possibility that I'm looking at, which is quite amazing to think about, really. But if you had any carpentry techniques, you were able to repair it. There were flame dampeners that were added to it for night fighters. They, circles could be cut out for reconnaissance under the weapons bay, under the bay there, reconnaissance for wood. It was easy to repair, and there was also subcontracting for this. It wasn't easy for the factory of this to be destroyed, because if you were a school desk builder or a furniture manufacturer, you were making the wings. If you were a piano maker or a coffin manufacturer, you were making sections of the fuselage. If you were making garden sheds, well, you'll be making bits of small components. It was amazing. 79 flight trials in 3 months, faster than any fighter. It could take 4 250-pound bombs, but they even shortened the fins so you can actually fit 8. I know, there's a Typhoon coming in now. Low level, ground attack missions, Operation Jericho, the Amiens jail raid, nuisance raids. It was able to do it all. It really was. It was such... Sounds good. Sounds like the Learjet's about to take off, and I'm about to go and all. So, ladies and teddy bears, the weather has deteriorated, and it's heading my way, my right, and unfortunately, this could be it. Yep, here comes the rain. Right, I am going to call it a day, because the rain is coming now, and I might be able to dodge it, unfortunately. Ladies and teddy bears, thank you so much. I know it's a short one, but I am probably going to get drowned at this rate. Let me just see, just really quickly. Brian Acosta, thank you very much for the super chat. And Ali Leyland, thank you very much as well. I'll just get Ted now. Unfortunately, we're going to call it a day because that looks mean. Oh, looks awful. Thank you very much, all of you who have tuned in. Brian Acosta, thank you very much. Big shout out to RAF Coningsby, thank you so much. And my fans, oh my gosh, fans and members, thank you so much. And it's a shame, sorry we had to cut it short. It is looking nasty later on today, and it's already started now. So, ladies and teddy bears, thank you so much. A great first start of the week. So for the last time for today, I think, my name's Nikos, cameraman, historian and commentator. This is our squadron leader, Ted Coningsby. You've been watching the Ted Coningsby channel live here at TED HQ. So for the last time for today, unfortunately, it is see you soon, keep dry, see you soon, wish you well, see ya.